Thank you. Sorry to hold you up.
No, all good. Welcome, everyone. Well, let's get things started. I'd like to just acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're on tonight, which is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past and present. I guess we can get straight into apologies. So we've heard from John and Pam Harrick, who are apologies. Have we heard from anyone else, Richard?
No, I haven't heard from anybody.
No, all good. Minutes from the last meeting, we circulated those in an email after the AGM. I just need someone to move and second that. Susan and Fred, thank you. And correspondence I have here, not a huge amount. We've got the stats from our website. We've got some facilities work happening to renew our leases for the studio and for Harrick's. The precinct, I suppose, which includes the police hut as well. We've also got an inquiry around the Carolyn Chisholm site in Essendon, which Susan will be speaking to us about this evening, so thank you, Susan. And we also had Peter with a family history inquiry for someone named Michelle, which I think we'll need to give to someone to do, but we'll come back to that. And then we had a collections librarian from the PMI Victorian History Library, just that's a Perens Mechanics Institute, asking her about our newsletter, which we haven't done for a few years, so I think they've got some of our stuff on file, don't they?
And I was able to send them the CD, which had a collection.
Yeah, amazing. Do we have any more of those?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. And then we also had one from Over Newton Castle. Brimbank City Council are hosting an event at Village Cinemas in Sunshine, and they're doing a screening of the Lost Melbourne documentary. Has anyone heard of that?
Early today.
Yeah, so it won all these awards. It's really quite interesting. It's around all the demolitions that were done by William the Wrecker in the 60s and 70s in Melbourne. So yeah, won all these awards. They're doing a free screening of that. So we have a link to register if you're interested.
I did try and register, but couldn't get through.
Oh, really?
Today.
Surely they've not filled an entire cinema.
Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we'll if anyone's interested in going, if a few of us are going, maybe we can register like a few at the same time.
Sure.
And then we also had like a grants email from Royal Historical Society Victoria, so maybe some work for us to do to secure the grant, but I will pass those around if anyone wants to read in a bit more detail. But in terms of correspondence, I do need a mover and a seconder. Fred, we'll go with Bev. Sorry, Susan. And over to the Treasurer for the Treasurer's report.
Thanks, Aaron. Welcome everyone on Zoom. Look, things are pretty quiet to date. We haven't run any major events. So in terms of our income, we've collected membership fees last month, and you can see there to date we've got $490 in fees. We've got donations make up $645, and we've got a $500 grant, and that was from the Commonwealth Bank for recognition of the work that Susan has done in the past and has acknowledged our efforts. So the total for the 3 months from July to the 30th of September is $1,635. Our expenditure consists of $42, which was a gift, a small gift that we purchased for Les, who's one of our life members, and some printing costs that go back to when we ran the Harrick's open day. So you can see that our bank balance at the moment, down the bottom there, is $8,873. All's good to date, so we're ready to take on our next project. So, any questions on any of those figures? All good?
Yep.
Can someone please pass?
So yeah, John moves to have those accepted. Fred, yeah. Awesome, thank you very much. I was meant to say this at the beginning, I'm so sorry, Yvonne. So our new member, do you feel comfortable telling us a bit about yourself and what's brought you to KHS?
Alright. My name is Yvonne Bisek. As you can see, I'm Asian. I'm from the Philippines. My husband is Croatian. So I met him here in Australia. My auntie sponsored me to come to Australia. I'm the bank manager at the Commonwealth Bank, Caroline Springs. Yeah. I got 2 children. My son is 27. He got married last March this year. And my daughter is getting married this next year, February. So I volunteered before at the St. Vincent de Paul, feeding the hungry every fortnight, but I got frozen shoulder, so I said it's time to look for something different, which I don't need force or anything. Yeah. And I found your thing through the Brimbank Council. Yeah, so I said, better volunteer after work. I have nothing to do. Sit down next to my husband, he's watching old football games. So I have to volunteer to get out. Yeah, so that's why I'm here. And I know Jo from her husband worked before at the Commonwealth Bank. Yeah, so I'm here.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here and for joining us, and we're thrilled to have you. Awesome. We had a few new members join over the past couple of months. So it's more just to say we've been speaking about this at our meetings around wanting to grow our membership base. We've probably had, I would say, 5 to 7 new members come on in the past 2 or 3 months, which is really positive for us. We did have a committee meeting recently where we discussed sort of the next 3 to 4 months what the direction is for KHS, and new membership is on the list. We also spoke about reintroducing our sort of pre-COVID calendar of events, which was, you might need to help me with this one, Susan, but the Cemetery Walk, the Open Day, Pioneers Open Day, and the ANZAC Day commemoration as well. So I think with the amount of members that we have at the moment, that seems like an achievable calendar that we can pull off every year. But I was wanting to throw it out to the rest of you as well to see how you all feel about that.
All sounds good to me, if I may say so. Refresh my memory about what we talked about in terms of how we can attract new members, obviously through Brimbank Council, no doubt the website. What other avenues have been used in the past?
To get to sort of
attract new members, inquiries.
Yeah, good question. So we were talking about potentially reaching out to some of the primary schools in the area. So we know we've got St. Augustine's, Over Newton, and Keilor Primary.
And there is some interest there.
Yeah, and like my kids go to childcare across the road as well. So sort of seeing what the parents are interested in. We're also talking about. I've gone blank now.
Well, while you're thinking, would the Star Weekly that we seem to have a reasonable connection with, would they run anything for us for free?
They would. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have something
in
recently.
their What's On
page,
yes, the What's On group, I look and see everything at Brimbank, but there's not much in Keilor. Like there's a lot.
And the other avenue,
all that, there's not much.
another avenue maybe through, pardon me, the council libraries.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah,
they certainly display at ANZAC and Harrods Cottage Open Day and things like that for us.
We talked about Keilor Hotel as well, because we have a display in the hotel.
Yes.
There's also, like, for instance,
there.
the Royal Historical Society, if we really wanted to, could probably put something in their newsletter, because we're affiliated with them. What else did we talk about?
We mentioned about maybe having a stall at the market.
Yeah, that's right. That was a really good one.
And of course, word of mouth, it sounds obvious, but that's always a good avenue.
And there's the website, Facebook as well.
Social media.
Council.
Yeah.
Council Facebook.
Yeah, so we're talking about a few different ways. One was as well, just talking to people in the village, whether it was approaching people in their shops or, the stall at the market was a good one because it gets pretty busy down there, as you were saying, Stephen.
Yes, it does.
Do we have like a Facebook page?
So I was going to say
For
Facebook
us?
page, yeah?
So we have Instagram and we do have Facebook, but it's all in its very early stages. So we're sort of working on that. But we do have a Twitter, which again it's all very kind of under the radar.
I think our younger people, Instagram, they're looking for people my age.
Like us.
Facebook.
Yeah.
We're not that up.
Yeah.
No, really, but like the odd housewives and that in this area would all be Facebook. people.
Yeah.
And I think, well, Richard, you've identified that, which is why you made the Facebook. But it also kind of brings into question who do we want to target as members? Like, we're not particularly wanting to target anyone, but at the same time,
Yes.
we probably need to be diverse in our approach so that we can have a wider.
Yeah, because you can get like 100 people in it.
We're not suggesting we're going to get like 100 people turn up next week or even in the next 12 months. But I think if we have a wide catchment, probably better.
And Aaron, Susan, you just did a Rotary, Brimbank Rotary or Keilor Rotary or whatever talk, and those sort of service clubs, Provis, Lions and Rotary.
Walking groups.
Mm-hmm.
Richard, walking groups.
Yes, I've encouraged them.
Yeah.
I've encouraged them about it. And we're talking about t-shirts and maybe caps. But talking about a kit when people do become members.
Yeah. So I think for the next sort of few months, our focus is really on continuing to look for new members, or at least put the call out, I suppose, in all the different ways that we can. But also, once we get all of our lease agreements and stuff settled, we can then sort of move back into the calendar. In terms of when things are in the year, so those 3 events, obviously Anzac Day in April, Pioneers Open Day is, when did we do that last year?
Virtually April too,
April as well.
I think.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Yeah, it was something like that.
They're reasonably close.
Yeah, May, maybe, late April or early May. I think it was May.
Could be.
Yeah, and then obviously the cemetery walk, when would we usually do that?
Well, you haven't had it before. We had to stop it because of COVID.
Yeah. Was that going to be the first one?
Yeah, and we didn't get agreement.
I thought we always did it.
I've done mine.
No,
Okay, because we put that off like 4 times,
That was because, and we have to get agreement from GMC.
That's right.
Yeah. Cool, okay, so that's good to know. BMCT. So Richard and I can take that. And so that, in terms of general business, the other thing I would probably add is, I don't remember if I spoke about this at the AGM, but we did have the Heritage Advisory Committee in early September, and there's another meeting in early December. There hasn't really been any talk about the Trestle Bridge for 2 meetings, I want to say now. So it's a regular standing item on the agenda, but the last I heard is a report was being written, and that was the last I heard. So I think at the December meeting, if you're all okay with this, is I'm probably going to be a little bit stern with the committee and the mayor, asking about where the report is and where the state of things are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I suppose, I know I don't have to convince you all, but whether it's just a matter of they don't say anything for long enough and then it becomes too hard, or there's some sort of budget issue. So I think if we get a kind of nothing answer again, we might then need to come up with a strategy of how do we put pressure on the council to do something with the bridge.
Yeah.
They initially proposed fully rebuilding it, and then there was a proposal to preserve what was left and have some kind of viewing area, and then it was actually we're going to write a report and we put money aside in our budget for it. So it's ironic because in the last meeting they talked about Brimbank Council are trying to introduce rules so that people can't demolish their properties by neglect. So particularly, it's probably more for the sunshine part of Brimbank, but the council were looking at.
Oh, that's good, they need that.
Yeah, so obviously the state government brought in some legislation in after the Corkman's pub, and the mayor seemed to think that legislation worked on a local level, which it doesn't. So they're also now looking to bring in their own policies to prevent heritage by neglect. I raised with the mayor, it was ironic that we've been asking for them to restore that bridge for a number of years and they didn't, and then a river washed it away. So its own form of heritage by neglect, and the meeting swiftly moved on from there.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. So, but we're just going to have to keep putting the pressure on, I think. So that's, if I didn't mention it at the AGM, that's the latest with that. And any other items of general business that I might have missed? Susan?
It was the one for Grange, the thing for the Milburns, and that
Yes.
panel is progressing. And Adrian Gray is leaving Brimbank Council after 16 years, but I'm in contact with him and he's going to give a draft to both Dorothy Milburn and myself. But the pictures that have been collected now are very good for it.
Awesome. That's great.
And it'll follow something similar to the existing ones.
Yes.
Very good. Any other items? Any of our Zoomers want to raise any items?
Aaron, just out of interest, I mentioned at the annual meeting about how Susan and I met and how the society started, and I wanted to do a spoon for Keilor. I brought along the box of 6 spoons that John and I actually did. If anybody's interested to have a look at them. There's the 2 bridges, the 2 churches and the 2. Yeah, and I thought people might like to just spew them tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll pass them around and you can have a look. But this is how it sort of
Started.
the spoons, we ended up with 6 spoons. John took the photos, I did the history with Susan, and we created them. Quite a few mayors were given them as gifts in the early days, the Keilor Council.
And are you the only one with a copy of set of them?
Oh, well, there'll be quite a few people around who bought them originally, but I don't know.
You got it?
Yeah.
I don't know if there are any boxes of 6 left. I think we sold them in the shop.
Yeah.
So they've had that shop before, yeah.
And the other thing I should mention is we had the book launch for that grandfather's clock, which I'll be honest, I forgot about and didn't attend. But my wife bought me the book for my birthday. So there's a mention of City of Essendon. It doesn't really go into much about Keilor, but I just found it really interesting. There's a passage about they bought a house at 49 Washington Street. If anyone's familiar with Essendon, near the train station. In April of 1930, and Graham's father put a £100 deposit towards the property, which was valued at £885. And it goes into a lot of detail describing the area and the type of house. And so if anyone's interested, wants to kind of flick through the book, you're more than welcome to flick through. But in terms of general business, that sort of
It's just the one too. Raj gave us another bag of goodies to give out as presents. He's done that. He did that. So we had 4 lots before that school walk, and we were able to give them to the school to use for prizes. But I think we've now got 4 in the studio.
That's great. Write that down.
Bev, who actually made them?
There's a company in Western Australia that we use, Sonic. Yeah, I don't know whether it's...
You're familiar with them?
I don't know whether they're still in business,
No.
Richard, because it was back in the 1990s we did that.
1990s, yeah. It's a lovely idea.
Very
They look very shiny still as well.
Very nice. We were quite proud of them, actually.
Yeah, that's
and I used to sell the single spoons too, but the box sets were...
Did you make them?
We organised it, yeah.
Wow.
John and I did that. My husband took the photos, Richard, and Susan helped me with the history for the spoons, and we came up with that
And she used to sell them in the shop.
And I sold them in Keilor Interiors for many years, and they were used as corporate gifts for the Keilor Council. They never made their way to Sunshine.
So that's the jewellery
Yeah.
shop that's there now, that's the
You can
one
all
we
see.
did.
We had Claire's and the jewellery shop. Where we had the two shops. We cut a walkway through between the two shops.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's
Julie remembers.
I remember.
very great. So that's showing all different.
Well, we
landmarks.
chose the two bridges, Richard, the two churches, and over Newton and the hotel,
Mm.
because we thought they were the significant parts of Keilor at the time.
That's great.
So the Arundel Road Bridge is there in all its,
Glory,
well, as it should be, on
Yeah.
the photo.
as it was.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I just thought them out of interest for you to see, because
Yeah,
I
it's
mentioned them, and
Yeah,
I thought you
that's
might
right,
like to
yeah.
have a look at them.
Well,
Yeah.
we've been talking about producing something
Yeah.
like this is a bit bigger than hats and stickers.
Just a bit.
But that would be copyright, you have to get your place.
Oh, I'll
for
charge
that.
you copyright. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you've got the contacts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was back in the 1990s I did that.
Ah, just yesteryear.
Yeah, well, I don't know. A long time ago.
Whilst that's all going around though, we can hand over to Susan to talk to us about the Carolyn Chisholm site.
Because I was contacted because of the long interest in Carolyn Chisholm, but the site at Essendon, which was district nurses, it's going to go up for sale probably in a week's time. The Victorian government, in their non-wisdom, have overlooked the fact that it was on Crown land, so it should not be sold, and so it's been a fight. But anyway, Rotary invited me and with Essendon Historical Society and the woman who's been pushing it, etc., Jaya, she's been wonderful and such. So I went along and talked about our Carolyn Chisholm site. And then after that, I got contacted by Michael, who's the president of the Rotary Group, and he put me on to someone who's got land up at Gisborne. So I sent him all the details. This was a book we did, which was with the person in charge of the Victorian Plans Office, Peter Knights and such, and we did that. So you got all the specific sites and details and such. So I then sent it off to this other fellow, and that was all important. And then I talked about, of course, the publication and the exhibition we did about Keilor women, which included Carolyn Chisholm. And then the other one, of course, I mentioned in Keilor's heritage. But I made up a little talk for the night and told them about the importance of her work and Carolyn Chisholm. And then she ended up at Kyneton teaching English to Chinese, would you believe? But she was a miraculous woman because she convinced the Victorian government at the time of the gold rush to build these 10 shelter sheds. She believed that the families, women and children in particular, should have somewhere where they could have a good pudding, as she called it. And but it was the safety, but they were sturdy and they were a complex of 4. We've got the painting which is next door, which was given to us from Decima Alexander, and we have a lot of valuable information, but as a result of it, we have the site down there, and we had worked with the Board of Works, as it was then, to get the land around there for the parkland. All that parkland at the back, that is known as Carolyn Chisholm Park. So I was able to share some of that info with all the people at this meeting.
Thank you, Susan. Any questions for Susan? No? Simon, to put you on the spot, sorry, I told everyone we had a new member, and I mentioned you're my father-in-law and that you grew up in Keilor. Did you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself as well?
Probably do. I'll just put him on the speaker.
Oh, we're going to put you on the speakers, Simon.
There we go. So I'm just going to pin.
No, I couldn't. I'm sorry. Let's throw over to Zoom then.
There we go. Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, so thanks, Arnold. I do have a couple of connections with the group that I want to well, it's sharing the bed Aaron is a son-in-law, and father to my 2 grandchildren. But I was also a Keilor resident, so I lived in Keilor from basically when I was a baby in 1963 to 1980 when we left. So 17 years, my formative years. So I grew up running down Arundel Road to the river and swimming and fishing and all that sort of stuff, and haven't been back too many times other than now to visit Aaron and the family. So it's actually amazing to see what's how the village has transformed. But it brings home some very good memories of my childhood. So Aaron invited me onto the group. I think paid my membership as part of a Father's Day present, so I can sit and listen to what's going on. So happy to be part of the group.
Thank you, Simon.
I
Dorothy.
must say, I was going to say I remember Dorothy's name from when I was a child. I think Dorothy might have taught at my primary school. I went to Keilor Primary School, so it's good to make that connection again as well.
There you go.
Simon, it's John here. I believe you lived in Mercedes Street.
That's right. Yep. Number 3 Mercedes Street, just behind the bowling green.
Well, we live at number 6. We would have been neighbours had you still stayed there.
Oh, right. So you'd be on the other side of the road.
Yeah, on the other side of the road.
So it wasn't a double story
Oh,
when he was there. Did
Yeah,
you
well,
know
that street hasn't changed
No,
too
it
much.
hasn't changed.
our house has gone up? Our house was single, now it's double story. It's the original bottom, but we don't know who built up. We don't know who the original owners were.
Yeah. Well, we had the birds in the house behind us, and I fondly remember deliberately putting my ball over the fence to go and get it because she always gave us money when we came to get our balls. I think all the streets in that estate were named after her, so I think her first name was Mercedes, and they were Spanish, so that's where you get Barcelona and Girona Street from as well.
Very good. Well,
Hello, Simon.
Yes.
I just said hello, Simon.
Oh, hello, Dorothy.
It's Dorothy
How are you
here.
going?
The moment I saw your name, I said, I was going to say, now I know where you fit in. So, you knew me well. You went to school with Mary and Fiona.
That's right.
Fiona, Mary was 1960, Fiona was 1965 births. So you're in between, yes.
I am, yeah.
You should remember JC in your days as well.
Yeah, I do.
Anyway,
My father was very active in the JC.
Yes, they were, yeah. Anyway, catch up later. I
Thanks,
couldn't get on the first after the meeting, and then I was trying to be you a message when our house was in the floor, and by the time I got into the weeks, everybody, the call was going on. So anyway, thank you for a couple of minutes, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Oh, it's great to hear the stories. Did you have a question from before, Dorothy?
No, it was the same I just on because I didn't know how I was going to do this chat or what was going to do.
All good.
Now
We started having a chat offline.
who you are.
No, that's all right. Lily, you've got a question.
Hi, Simon.
When I said I was the inaugural president of the Keilor Historical Society, I'm sure I still might have, not positive, might have the first annual general meeting notes and things from that time. Yes, but I'm not sure about that.
Dorothy, please deliberately put your video off.
Well, I don't know how do I get it back on?
Can you turn
See,
it on?
I'm not computer literate, I'm terrible. You don't know what to say,
Oh yes, there you go, you've done it, you've turned it on. You've turned it on.
Great to see you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I know, well, it was just a blank screen.
She's wearing pink too, you look lovely.
I don't feel very lovely. That's beside the 4 5 yards of
No, thanks. You can see there.
Yeah,
You've got a question, Lily?
yeah, I do, when it spins back.
There you go.
It's for Simon.
Oh, for Simon.
Well, I did say, yes, it's for
Well,
Simon.
Simon's listening to.
Okay, Simon.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Lily. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. I'm just curious to know, in regards to Mercedes Street, can you recall a lady called Ingrid? Ingrid. A German lady called Ingrid?
Yes.
Ingrid Jacobs.
Yeah.
Do you mean someone Simon's age?
No, she would have been my age easily, maybe a couple of years just older. But she worked at High Point at Myers. Her name was Ingrid and she lived in Mercedes Street. That I do know.
We live next door to a family of Germans. Their
Right.
name is the Richters.
Okay,
And he was Carl, and I can't recall her.
it could have been
name.
her
She was
then.
potentially- Yeah.
Yes, could have been
They were
then.
in number one.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Or Klaus, then.
Klaus.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so we'll put it not Ingrid.
Okay, all right, not to worry. Thanks kindly anyway, because I knew she lived in that street.
At the time, I don't know that there was a girl.
It's nice to know the history.
Yeah, that's what I thought you might have known the
Yeah.
history of our house.
Yeah,
Well, we talk a lot about the history of the gold rush and that era, but obviously the history of Keilor,
The reason I
the more modern
know
history is
that
interesting.
your dad's saying something.
because they
Simon's
were
saying something.
next door to us up in Brimbank Court.
All right.
It's on the back of the Calder Roads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I can remember getting flooded one year, and they were on a slab, which was about, and we were on stumps. They were about 8 or so inches below us, and they got inundated, and we didn't. And my father seemed very happy with himself. We avoided the flood.
I didn't know we need re-stumping, we're on stumps.
But yeah, if there's no other items, that's the meeting. We have a little bit of extra time, which means we could go into the studio and do a bit of tidying. We've got some books to audit, so that's an option. Some final calls.
And there's a present here which is for Joy Butler, which I paid for. Her 70th birthday was yesterday.
Oh, very
Oh,
nice.
happy birthday
I'll
to
give
We
Joy.
might have to send her an email, Richard.
Very
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
I'll give it to her next
Okay,
week.
well, thank you to our Zoom friends for joining. We're going to end it here. And then for anyone that wants to stick around,
Yeah.
I think there's tea, etc. And we can go into the studio. So we'll see you next month.
Wonderful.
Good night all.
Thanks for having us, Aaron.
My daughter's asked me, and I know you told me before, but I
Bye.
didn't.
Bye-bye.
Jessica
Bye-bye.
said, why haven't we, you know that old place under the bridge, that old, there's a blue stone and it's all falling down on the old Calder Highway?
Yeah, yes, 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 yes.
Joe Burrell's place.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Who